What's up? What's good? Wolf is here, talking. That's right. Brand new Let's Talk, so let's get into it. So this Let's Talk is kind of a random one, kind of a little bit of a random video that I'm doing right here. I want to talk about successful sequels in media. Now, I'm going to be going over games, I'm going to be going over movies, TV shows, music, just my thoughts and opinions on successful franchises, successful bands, just the whole nine yards like that. So let's get into it. So two very different types of media that you can actually talk about when you're going into the large subject of all this stuff. That is the old school non-interactive media and the newer media that is totally interactive. That you can literally talk to the people that are making the media live and all that stuff. So old school media. Whenever I hear that, I'm thinking like TV shows and movies, and I guess music in a way would be old school, non-interactive, and then newer media like YouTube, like Twitch, like gaming, even VR. Um, and see, music is kind of a hard one though because it falls into both categories. Music, you both listen to it and then you can also copy it and also remix it and everything else. So that one I'll probably get into last of all. And then also I want to talk a little bit about future stuff too, and like VR and 3D and 4K, and games being made off of movies and stuff like that. So first up on the hit list, because as always, I do have a little bit of cheat sheet from me. So TV. Sequels in TV. What makes a successful TV sequel? Now, a TV sequel, it can be hard to make sequels to it because it is a non-interactive media, and anything non-interactive, as far as I see, if you can't interact with it, then you're just interpreting it. Okay, a very big TV show that people both love and hate is Walking Dead. So in The Walking Dead, when they first started out, it was about survival, seeing who was going to survive and everything. And then after they learned the environment, going down the seasons, we're on the seventh or eighth season now, so we've seen that many sequels. And the TV show, for some people, it feels like it's getting stale. I know me, for the last like one or two seasons, last couple seasons, certain things in it were throwing me off, and I was even myself, I'm a diehard, Walking Dead fan. I watched it day one, hour one, minute one when it first came on, and even I was like, really, that's what they're going with? That makes no sense, really. And so I think the reason why it's had the success that it does have, though, is because it's staying at the core of it. It's still the same show as it was back when it started. Now they are trying to change it up and try and make different things in with the show and everything, which to me also, because, like I said, non-interactive, anything that you can't interact with the media, it's all interpretive. So when the show first came out, your interpretation of it is like, how are they going to survive? It's a survival guide to the zombie apocalypse. I think that was even like in the commercial, like the tagline, the commercial and everything, which is fun. It's a cool concept. It's a cool idea. So TV shows can be a little bit harder because it's totally interpretive, like how you are taking what is happening on the TV show. There's no way of really, you can plead with the makers of a TV show not to kill off characters, or not to do this situation or that situation, or to do more of this other thing and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the directors and the showrunners and everything, and whoever writes the show. So a lot harder when it comes to older medias like TV shows and even movies too. A lot of times, movies similar to TV has a lot of that non-interactive, kind of media of like just taking what you see. Like if you go back and watch a movie like, say, The Matrix or something, back in the day, we didn't see anything like that. So it was one of those things that was like mind blowing, just seeing like people running on walls and bullets flying by in slow motion and everything, and this whole world being put in front of you of like, what was real and what was the fake made up world and everything, which people to this day still have theories of like, they never actually were in the real world. They were still in just another layer of the Matrix and stuff. So it's just, it's crazy stuff that just gets people talking, not interacting with it, but talking, which that right there makes movies, I think, a little bit easier to make sequels. Because even though it's not an interactive experience and you are interpreting it, it's still just like it creates this both nostalgia, and then also it gets like people talking about the movies, because whenever a movie hits, there's so much promotion behind it and everything that a lot of people go and watch movies just to say that they've seen the movie. Like Sharknado, one of the worst movies ever made, but so many people watched it because it was so bad. So it's so much easier with movies than TV shows, because TV show also, I mean, that's going to take up a big chunk of your time watching the full-on TV show. If it's not good all the way through, then, why bother watch a sequel to something that wasn't good in the first place? Now, movie, a couple hours, it's done with 3 hours at the most, and, that's not so bad, but there's also a lot of promotion behind it, so it's a lot easier to make sequels in that way. And of course, like I said, nostalgia, like, Star Wars is a big one. When it was so much time, and then all of a sudden we have a new Star Wars movie that's coming out, and it's just like everybody's mind blow up and everything. There's so much promotion. I mean, actually, even Big Bang Theory TV show did promotion for the Star Wars movie, so it's like, so much easier ways of getting people into the theater to see the movie and to get people to rip them offline and everything, and to buy the DVDs when they come out, the Blu-rays and all that stuff, and to buy digital copies and everything. So even right there, it's still easier to get that around because it ends up floating. A movie floats around a lot easier than a TV show. So, what makes movies successful, though? Keeping the core basic storyline intact. This is, like I said, this is just my opinion. This is what I feel about it. TV shows and movies both, you have to, and really any media and entertainment, even like the videos that you're watching right now on my channel, keeping that core thing together, but putting layers on the core thing that complement the core thing, but at the same time make it something new and different that is still fun and relevant. So it's so hard to make a sequel off from something that is non-interactive, like I said. All right, so the next one for like or non-interactive media is, I want to talk about comics for a second. So comic books have been around since, before TV. I think comic books have been around ever since the radio has been around. Like it's been around forever. It was one of the very first forms of entertainment that you could get that was a visual. Now, one of the funniest things that I find now with comics, I've never really read too much. I'm kind of newer to the comic book landscape, and I would say that I haven't seen too many sequels in a way. Like The Walking Dead's probably the only one that I've seen a lot of sequels of comic books in. But it seems like to me comic books, because there's so much of visual representation, it's just kind of the voice of the characters, like the way the characters talk and the way the characters think in the story. That's the only thing that's really hard to get the right way when it comes to sequels. But again, the core of the story has to be like, if you have say you're reading a DC comic and I don't know, you're reading one on the Green Arrow or something like that. You want Green Arrow to be Green Arrow. You want him to be Oliver Queen, and you want his story to be the same, but you want the adventures to be different. So that's that extra layer that you're adding on. that's the extra thing that ties in to make it really good. So what would a successful sequel to Green Arrow comic be? Green Arrow going on to another adventure, or having to run in with a villain or two from maybe another comic book character's storyline that makes it really interesting to see, like, how would he fare in the other hero's world, like, okay, a really good example of that would be Green Arrow versus Joker from Batman. That'd be pretty crazy to see. Probably already happened because characters are pretty old by now and everything. So another one, as I said, this is kind of, it's not interactive at first, but then it can be interactive, and that is music media. Now, music is on a whole different level, because music at first, it's totally just audio. It's totally just sound. It's feeling of what the music, every song has a different feeling, and there is no real it's kind of weird because there's no real core to music. It's just totally, the feeling of the sound that you're listening to. Now, successful sequels for bands, I mean, that can be, I guess the sequel to music would be, a successful sequel in music would be something that complements the idea and the thought that you're putting, in the form of the sound. So, and that is so hard to do because it's been done a million times over again. And people, a lot of times when you listen to a song, it's like, this sounds like that, this sounds like that sounds like this. And, sequels, but that's also the thing though, is when things, it don't matter what media it is, gaming, movies, TV show, music, things are going to look like other things. And that's one thing that I think a lot of us have to really keep in mind and consider, that there's a lot of really cool things out there to inspire the things that we see nowadays. So talking about games, let's get into interactive media. So the biggest form of interactive media, of course, is video games. What mainly my channel is all about, for the most part, all the time, So games they're probably easier but harder at the same time, because it's easier because it's not interpretive based, it's way more interactive based. Like, you are getting the same story, you are getting the same story, the same feeling, the same adrenaline rush that a million other people that are playing the same game is getting at the same time. Of course, there are a lot of games where you can make your own storyline, but still, the main thing is still there. There's still a main story, a main set course that you're getting put on and going through and everything. So there's still a main story that's getting told, that your visually, your audio, everything, the feeling, like I said, the adrenaline rush, it's all the same thing that you're feeling along with a million other people, which is awesome. And at the same time, very easy to make a sequel. Now, to make a good sequel off from that, so to make a good sequel off from a game, again, core experience, the core feeling of the game has to be there. A brand new game that is actually in the works right now, Crash Bandicoot. I know a lot of you probably know and love it. Maybe not, but me, I have a lot of nostalgia with Crash Bandicoot because I grew up playing those games. Now, the new one, they're working on it right now, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, man, it's either gonna be really, really cool, or maybe a little too childish, maybe just not built well, because the core mechanics ain't going to be the same, because it's a different development team. It's like been almost 20 years since the original Crash Bandicoots came out or something like that. I don't know, I'm just throwing that number out there, but it's been a long time since those original 3 Crash Bandicoots. And and even newer franchise like Mass Effect, everybody's really got their eye on the new Mass Effect. Now, Mass Effect is a very big one, again, that's so close to being like the movie thing that I was just talking about. The core mechanic of for Mass Effect Andromeda to be very good, they need to make sure that the core mechanics are good, the core storytelling is good, and that they keep with the lore that's already been built over the first 3 games and everything. So it's a lot of keep what's already there, but also add something to it, and don't screw with the story that's already been set, but add something to it that complements the old story. So it's going to be very, very hard for them to make it, truly a great, successful sequel. But it is possible. It is definitely possible. And of course, also, if you go into the game thinking it's going to be this monumental, absolute, amazing masterpiece that no other game is going to be able to touch, you're probably going to get let down, because I bet you ain't mad money it's not going to be that good. It could be. It very well could be, because it is, BioWare making it. But definitely, like games like that have sequels that are these, just so hyped up and everything. My biggest piece of advice would be go into it hoping for the best, expecting the worst, and then usually, depending on how good the game actually is, you'll be pleasantly surprised by it, because you are expecting it to be like, okay, this is maybe going to be okay at best, and if it's really good, it's like, whoa, like Doom. I was going into that, I'm like, this is going to be alright, I don't know, it's probably just going to be another run around, shoot 'em up, and that game turned out to be like, the story could have been maybe a little bit better, but other than that, like the game it was probably 9 out of 10, because the story could have been just, a touch bit better. But that was what I would consider to be. I don't know if that was so much of a sequel as it was a reboot, which I actually kind of want to get into reboots later on in this video. But still, it was the core mechanics, what made Doom so fun to begin with. Way better graphics, which that was the layer that they add extra on to go along with the core stuff that was already there. The story was only alright, so that was a whole other layer that they threw on top of it. And at the end, you just had this package that was, like I said, like a 9 out of 10 package. It was really, really cool, really good. A lot of people seemed to really like it and get into it. And the multiplayer was also decent too. Alright, so next topic in this video, YouTube videos. Now, sequels to successful YouTube videos is probably one of the hardest things to do, because there's so many rules around YouTube of like, you can't exactly make videos with this iconic soundtrack and do something that has not been done before on YouTube, because there is so many rules and everything. So sequels to successful YouTube videos, it has to, like, if you're a prankster on YouTube, first of all, your core thing is going to be the prank, and then like location, not doing the same location that you did 50 times before. Sometimes you can get away with it if you're doing it in like your house or your apartment or something like that. You can get kind of away with it for that. But if you can go out traveling and you prank people out on the streets or something like that, it can be good. Just don't do a stupid prank. Don't do something that's going to get you in trouble. Don't do something that is going to get you beat up. Don't do something that's going to cause harm to other people. Those are not, I don't find those to be successful sequels. They might get you a lot of views and everything, but they're not successful. They're just stupid. That's why they're getting you a lot of views. Something truly successful inspires others to do the same thing as what you're doing. So again, the core, I guess the main thing for successful sequels to anything is sticking with the core of what made the first thing so good. And don't change the core. Don't change the core attributes of what made the first thing that you did so good. That's the main number one tip I can tell you. And then just add onto that, even Twitch streams, if you have a really good Twitch stream one night, and then you want to have just as good as a stream the next night, well, just do what you did the first time around, just hang out, have fun, and then maybe it's do a different game or something like that on Twitch, or do a different or style of a Twitch stream. So if you did gaming one night, you do cooking or just talking, or and change it up. And I find that the people I watch on videos and live streams and the movies that I watch and everything, it takes what I liked about it in the first place, and a lot of times it will switch up to a different style. I like watching fighting movies, but I don't want to watch the same kung fu movie 10 times over again. I want to see a Japanese style fighting movie. I want to see a Chinese style fighting movie. I want to see an MMA fight, a boxing match, and it's like I said, the core thing though is always, it just goes back to that. Now, reboots and franchises, another big one, another really big one. So we are in the era right now of reboots and rehashes and making sequels of movies that have been done and over with for 20, 30 years and whatnot. Successful reboots and franchises is probably one of the hardest things to do, because your mind makes everything just absolutely amazingly golden awesome, when you haven't seen it in years, and nostalgia takes over so easily. Everybody's brains are, they get so hyped off of nostalgia that when something new comes out, Scarface, I do not have high hopes at all for the new Scarface movie that they're working on, just because my nostalgia of watching Scarface so many times over again has got me on this like plethora of like hypeness of like, there's no way they can make another one. Maybe they make a new one and it's freaking awesome. Maybe it's gonna bomb. I don't know, but nothing is gonna be as good as that original, just because it brings me back to a place where I was, before I grew up. And it brings you back to that little kid in you of like wanting to be that gangster and everything. So reboots and franchises, again, go back to the core of what made the original movies good, and don't try and overproduce it. That's another big one. When you're trying to reboot something, I see it so many times. They overproduce stuff, and it makes it just, it makes it feel like it's a totally brand new movie, but really you're looking for that core feeling that the original thing already, that already had there, and they don't get the core thing because it's overproduced to feel like a brand new movie. So to me, it's like, that's not even a reboot. That's just it's taking the idea, it's copying the idea and the name and the brand, making it into a brand new movie. And that's one thing I do not like with reboots a lot of times. Sometimes things do get rebooted. I guess you could kind of say Star Wars kind of got rebooted, and made into something even, or not better, but just as good as it was before. So, and the whole reason why, because at its core, it's pretty much the original movie. It's just with an extra layer of new story, new characters, and everything. So it did like I said, everything I just said. Keep the core, add the new layers that complement the core of what it was before, and there you go. So yeah, I mean, that's my 2 cents on reboots, remakes, successful sequels, and like I said over and over and over again in this video, the core tips to making sequels successful. I see sequels fail so badly so many times nowadays, because they're either, like I said, one, overproduced, or two, they just do not keep what made the original so good to begin with. But yeah, thanks for checking out the video. That was just me this video is probably going to be me a little bit rambling, a little bit sharing thoughts and opinions, and yeah, just a tips and tricks to making sequels good. Who knows, if you're making your own videos out there, like I said, maybe it's something to get you thinking a little bit, when you're trying to make that next big video after you've already had a big video. So yeah, if you like it, you can hit that thumbs up, you can share it around, and as always, of course, if you subscribe to the channel, it's going to make sure that you stay tuned for all new videos coming soon.